Angels, it's Hailey Reese and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so excited that you are here, and as always, I truly hope that you are having an absolutely fantastic morning, afternoon, or night, whatever it is for you when this video finally reaches you today. I'm ready to freak myself out a little bit because I am here currently home alone, and we are once again diving into 3 absolutely terrifying true home alone encounters. I can truly say I don't think there's much worse than when you're home alone and you're upstairs and you think you hear someone or you think you see something, and unfortunately in some of these experiences it's not just a think, it's a fact. And these are some spooky ones. Before we get into today's video though, I am so excited to let you guys know that I am partnering up with Yours app for today's video. Yours app is a mindfulness app that I have been absolutely obsessed with lately. They're actually the fastest growing self-care and mindfulness app in the market, and truly is just an overall all-in-one well-being app. Honestly, you guys, I can't even put into words just how much this app has to offer. From sleep music and stories to psychological tips to meditations to even ASMR and yoga. There's so much, and I absolutely adore it. There's even breathing clocks and nature sounds and music and just so much more. You guys truly have to check it out. Now, I personally absolutely love the psychological section of the app because, let's be honest, therapy can be incredibly expensive for some of those who need it, and I personally have really benefited from this section of the app. I can truly say that I've been absolutely loving the meditations and starting my day off with a meditation, but overall, Yours app has just been so good for my mental health and my anxiety. Yours app is available for both iOS and Android, and while they do have free content on here as well, they do have a premium membership. Personally, I've been using the premium membership and I find it to be totally worth it, but one good thing is that they do have a 7-day free trial and a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can get a massive 60% off Yours app yearly subscription when you head to yoursapp.com/HaileyReese or use my code HaileyReese. So make sure you click the link at the very top of my description. As I said, it's yoursapp.com/HaileyReese or my code HaileyReese, and you will receive 60% off the yearly Yours app subscription. So make sure you guys check it out. I truly believe investing in our mental health and mindfulness is a priceless investment, and I just truly think that you guys will absolutely love it. So thank you so much to Yours app for partnering up with me. But without further ado, let's get into these terrifying home alone encounters. So this first story begins with 16-year-old Emily, and Emily at the time was really trying to grow her finances. She was taking on any types of jobs that she could, pet sitting for people, house sitting for people, babysitting for people, basically all of the early on jobs that you can do kind of at your own discretion. So when her aunt needed someone to house sit for a weekend away, Emily was stoked that not only could she hang out in her aunt's big, beautiful home, but that she would also be getting paid for it. Now, the first night, she says that she had a phenomenal sleep. Her aunt had a huge house with a huge hot tub and all these beautiful amenities in it, so she was really enjoying soaking up what it would be like to live in a house like this one day, and was actually really enjoying being home alone. That was until the following day, when things would kind of shift for Emily. Emily began kind of viewing the house a little bit different than she had the night before. The excitement of being in this house all by herself was slowly wearing off when she realized just how big the house actually was and how these little noises were just, let's be honest, freaking her out. And I have thought about this so many times, like the people who live in massive houses, someone could be existing on the opposite side of your property and you would have no idea. I actually think it might have been J-Lo, if I'm not mistaken, had like a frogger or a stalker like on her property and she had no idea. But freaky. Anyways, These feelings kind of start sinking in, and she notices that as nighttime approaches, she starts feeling a lot more uneasy. But one thing about Emily is that Emily describes herself as somebody who is incredibly aware of her surroundings. So she felt like maybe these feelings that she was having, these sounds that she was hearing, and this overall fear could actually be something. So she decides before going to sleep to call her mom and dad and just kind of get that reassurance that everything is fine. So she calls up her parents and she starts telling them that she just has a feeling like something's off with the house. She feels super uncomfortable and she's hearing weird noises. Well, Emily's parents do what most parents do and reassure her that they're sure everything's fine. It's a big house, her mind is probably playing tricks on her, and just to make sure that she's locked up all the doors, maybe take a walk around the house and just see. Now, Emily decides against taking a walk around the house, but she does make sure that all the doors are locked and ultimately decides that she likely is overreacting. The following day was set to be her last night house sitting. Her aunt and uncle would be returning the next day, and this feeling that Emily had was continuing to get worse. By now, she felt she was in full-blown paranoia because she felt as though she was hearing footsteps, that she heard like somebody clear their throat, and that she thought the house was either haunted or there was, in fact, somebody in the house. So once again, Emily calls up her parents and she's like, hey, still feeling uneasy. Now I think I hear footsteps. I thought I heard someone clear their throat. And they continue to reassure her that, look, nothing had happened the night before. You locked the doors. You've just been in the house. You should be totally safe and fine. Again, give it a walk around if you feel like you should. But Emily decides that she does not feel comfortable. This feeling inside of her is getting so much worse as the night is progressing on, and it actually turns into a feeling of doom, that gut feeling of something very bad is going to happen. But Emily really wanted the money and to do a good job, and she knew that her aunt and uncle were trusting her. So instead of deciding to leave or anything of those sorts, she texted her aunt and asked if they'd be comfortable if her best friend could come and stay the night with her because she was just feeling a little bit uneasy. And they said, yes, of course, just take care of the place. This is where the story takes a disturbing turn, you guys. Emily's friend gets to the door, and as Emily opens the door, immediately Emily notices that something is very off within her friend's face. Now, Emily hadn't told her friend that she wanted her to come because she was uneasy. She told her friend that she wanted her to come because she was bored and wanted to hang out. She was trying to play it cool. That's when her friend looks at her, white as a ghost, and asks her who was upstairs in the window. Immediately, Emily starts freaking out, asking her, what the hell do you mean? And she said there was a hooded man that looked to be very creepy and out of place for this particular house upstairs, and she knew that Emily was supposed to be house sitting alone. Emily obviously freaks the heck out. They go running outside, they go to her friend's car, and they end up calling the police. That's when the police find a grown man hiding in the upstairs bedroom closet with a bag of very odd belongings. He had a journal in this bag that he was writing some really creepy poetry in, really dark poetry that wasn't really easy to decode, but then he also had a pocket knife and a bottle of alcohol. Law enforcement told Emily and her friend that they did the absolute right thing by calling this in because they believe this was going to take a very dark, potentially murderous route had the night progressed without him being caught in the house. To this day, Emily says that she does not feel comfortable being home alone. She constantly has that feeling that somebody could be within the home, but she thanks God every single day that her friend was able to catch a glimpse of the man, that she was on high alert, and that nothing ended up happening to her. Law enforcement had no idea how the man had gotten in the house, so whether or not a door had been unlocked at some point, they weren't sure, and they weren't sure exactly how long he'd been in the house either. The man was described as mentally ill, he lacked communication skills, and he wasn't forthcoming with his purpose for being there, why he chose that house, and what his intentions were. But either way, that story gives me freaking chills because it makes me think of all the times that I may be ruling something as paranormal activity and there's a possibility that it may not be. Freaky. But moral of the story, always trust your gut intuition. If you have a bad gut feeling, follow it. Whew, creepy stuff. This next story has to do with a woman named Madeline who had just experienced a divorce and was finally going to be living out on her own. Her house that she was moving out to was kind of in like more of a secluded area, and it had so many big, beautiful bright windows, and she was just really excited to experience single life. Well, one particular night, things would take an extremely terrifying turn when she would decide to try on some bridesmaids' dresses, different options that her friend had given her to sample and see which one would look the best for her. So she's trying on these bridesmaids' dresses, having a glass of wine, dancing around her place, and just really experiencing what it's like to be alone and enjoy yourself. Slowly but surely though, she starts to feel like something is off, and she's hearing what almost sounds like a scraping down her windows. So she decides to go open up her back porch, peek outside, and see if she can see anyone, which, come on, horror movie 101, not always the smartest thing to do when you're by yourself, but hey, I'm not judging. So she takes a peek outside and she doesn't see anybody, but she just couldn't shake this feeling of being watched. She puts away the bridesmaids' dresses, gets all cozy in her PJs, and decides to curl up and watch a movie. That's when she starts to hear what sounds like the scraping again. Again, she goes and kind of peeks out the window and doesn't see anything, but is feeling very unsettled. The night continues on. She ends up heading to bed, but where this takes a disturbing turn is the following morning when she goes to leave for work. She sees written in a red paint on the side of her house, "Your dresses looked beautiful." And it just confirmed that somebody had been watching her while she was alone in her home, trying on dresses and doing Lord knows what. That was a short story, but that one freaks me out because it's just so eerie to think that you could be in your own personal space and somebody could be lurking from outside. I know one of the freakiest things at night for me when there's no lights on outside is that I feel like I just see the reflection of my house and myself. I don't actually see outside unless I press right up against the window. So that's why I always make sure that all of my blinds and windows are completely shut. But yeah, to this day, she has absolutely no idea who the person was, why they were peering in, and why they felt the need to paint that her dresses looked beautiful to let her know that they were there. It's almost like that person gets off on making their presence known. And even creepier, despite her closing up her windows now, she doesn't know if he could be lurking to this day. Oof, so creepy. And the final story has to do with a 13-year-old boy named Robert. Now, Robert was really one of those kids who valued his independence. He made sure to make that very known. He enjoyed being the leader of his friends, being independent, and so as soon as he could stay home alone, he was so excited. It was summertime, he couldn't wait to hang out with his friends, and every single day around the exact same time, he would open up his garage, his friends would come over, and they would play with like all of his like cool gadgets and garage stuff. I don't know, probably bikes and I don't know, scooters, skateboards. You get the gist. And so every single day around the exact same time, Robert would meet up with his friends, and this was kind of their routine. But one thing that they noticed was that around this time every single day, they would see a very peculiar man that would walk up and down the street and just seem to stare at them, almost like he was assessing the situation, trying to see who was there, what they were doing, but the man had never actually done anything. So Robert's parents kind of just ruled it as a strange neighbor who enjoyed to walk the neighborhood. But Robert said he and his friends felt when they looked into this man's eyes, there was something very off about him. And that would prove to be true in the coming weeks. One afternoon, Robert opens up the garage and is waiting for his friends, but his friend was running a little bit late this day. He had an appointment, so he was going to be showing up a little bit later. So Robert was hanging out completely by himself in the garage, kind of getting everything ready. And that's when he once again sees the strange man walking up and down the street, just staring at him. He said he started to feel uncomfortable, obviously, but this wasn't anything out of the ordinary, and while he had no clue who the man was or why he was staring at him, he was kind of used to him at this point. But something started to shift as the man kept walking. Robert said that it was almost as though the man was assessing the situation and started to look around, realizing that Robert was completely alone in that garage. He said on one of his loops coming back in front of their house, the man stopped, turned slowly, and was just staring into Robert's eyes. Robert said he started to feel very uneasy, so he asked the man, "What are you doing?" And the man replied, "I just like to watch you." Well, that line obviously is incredibly unsettling for anybody, let alone a young boy. So Robert starts to panic as the man starts to actually walk towards his garage, making straight eye contact, almost as if he's coming for him. Robert goes to shut the garage, but in a panic, hits the garage twice. So the garage starts going down, but then slowly starts coming back up. And that's when the man turns back around and starts charging towards the garage. Now, Robert described his driveway to be relatively long, so he pressed the garage button again, and luckily the garage completely closed. He went inside, was completely shook up, called his parents, and they said that they would be home shortly. However, the police would arrive before Robert's parents because a neighbor called in a suspicious man peering into his house windows. They just noticed he wasn't the neighbor. Why was he peering in? Now, Robert never saw the man to this day and has no idea what his intentions were, but police say he acted quickly. I don't know though, that just freaks me the heck out. I want to know from you guys, do you guys have any spooky Home Alone stories? I definitely would love to hear them. One of my favorite things with this channel is hearing your guys' personal experiences, so I'll definitely be reading through the comments. But I also want to know, which of these stories did you find the most terrifying? I would absolutely love to know, but those are once again 3 terrifying Home Alone encounters. I know that nothing insanely extreme happened, but the fact that these are true experiences, put yourself into those shoes. So freaking creepy, but I'd love to know your guys' thoughts. Once again, I would just love to say a huge thank you to Yours App for partnering up with me for today's video. As I mentioned, you guys can get a huge 60% off the yearly Yours App subscription when you head to yoursapp.com/Hailey Reese or use my code Hailey Reese. I will have it linked at the top of my description. I truly think you guys will love it. It has been a game changer for me, so I highly suggest checking it out, and thank you so much for partnering. If you guys are new to my channel or you are just not yet subscribed but you do enjoy my content, I would seriously love it if you would go ahead and click that subscribe button, and please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness and stay safe out there. There's some spooky stuff that happens in this world. Until next time, I love you guys so very much. Bye, guys.